Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM, and this is Dungeons and Dragons Through the Ages, Part 5, The Thief, and this chapter is First Edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. With me today, as always,
I'm Troy, the Planescape guy.
Gwydion the Long-Winded.
and the Goofball,
That better?
He'll be back later.
once he's had his medicine.
But
So,
not all here.
I want to remind you to like, share, comment, and subscribe wherever you happen to find this video. And if you'd like to find us and hang out with us at the other places that we like to be,
You can find us, of course, on Twitch TV, on Discord, where we have a growing community of young DMs learning and building some of the best play material that's out there. And on our Facebook page, I Want to Be a GM. And, of course, YouTube, where all of these videos eventually wind up professionally edited with high-speed graphics, so they have a tremendous look and appeal.
I want whatever he's having. So,
Experienced DMs, we welcome, we encourage you because none of us know everything, and we look to you for new ideas, inspiration, your home worlds, your home brews, your builds, the things that you're doing, some things you come up with. These may be the next steps in D&D, and you're a part of it. We want to hear about it. We want to interact with you. We want to be a part of your world. Just like we want you part of
your
ours.
love and enthusiasm for the game drives our everyday.
It does.
So, if you're watching this today, please chat with us on the Twitch.
We're on Twitch today.
We're on Twitch today. We're on Twitch today. So chat with us. Send us your questions or comments. We can pull the answers right out of any of the books here, and we love to talk to you.
Yeah. Do the same on make some comments on YouTube. We
Politely.
we do check those and so on, and we want to help you there. On Discord Wednesday nights, you can find one or both these guys. Once in a while, I'm able to join with a D&D roundtable, and that's where you guys drive the story. You drive the conversation. We're here to answer questions and just talk, have fun. Get things out in the open.
In the true sense of the round table, it's an exchange so that we can all improve each other's games.
Yep.
So, getting into the game, first edition, Dungeons and Dragons. This is the game that Troy plays most of. It's a mix, actually, first and second.
First and second, some homebrew.
We got a lot of updates with first edition, including a couple of playable races. The Unearthed Arcana is one that we consider to be part of the core for this set.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here we started to see Dungeon Masters, Players, and Monster Manual, but the Unearthed Arcana really brought a lot of changes that we see core even moving into 5th edition. So
the Unearthed Arcana, half the book says DM's information, the other half the book specifically for players. Some character classes introduced, a couple races introduced, more spells for everybody. Well, not everybody. There's magic user spells, and there's cleric and druid
magic
spells.
items.
Some new magic items, more stuff.
The one thing I want to start with here with Unearthed Arcana, particularly as we talk about the Thief today, were non-weapon proficiencies. So, knot tying, gem cutting, appraisal, these sort of things that could expand your Thief character's abilities beyond your usefulness in finding traps, moving silently, or hiding in shadows.
So you're hiding shadows and all that kind of stuff. You may find yourself having to climb somewhere. So the Wilderness Survival and the Dungeoneer Survival guides, both of these have a lot about climbing and what was it?
There was different thieves tools like the metal pitons. We got just a lot of expansion, particularly useful to thieves or characters that are going to be either
Tiger Claw, like Conan used when they climbed the Snake Tower.
Yeah.
And those Tiger Claws.
And what was the thief we had? We ended up actually also with the Thief Acrobat. So you'll start to see the high dex thief
Acrobat
in
there.
Unearthed Arcana.
That's the guy that does all the parkour stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. In the Wilderness Survival Guide, there's also stopping a fall.
Stop it.
Stopping fumbles and so on like that. Now the Thief Acrobat, if he was next to a wall, could fall a certain distance as he leveled up, be able to push off, and
it's like he
so on.
grabbed the wall.
No, you push off with your feet, and I'd show it to you if I was 40 years younger, but but we still had cushioned mats when we were doing it. But the I got that too, brother. Encumbrances was expanded. Falling, tumbling down a slope, damage from falling, using ropes for all manners of things. They expanded that. no bard, no bad bard, no bards.
No bad
So, yeah, you guys jumped ahead on me a little bit. But that's okay.
We just wanted
Yeah,
to mention
it
so
is a
we'll come back to it
Yeah.
because it's appropriate to mention some of the expansions that were
Yeah.
available, but particularly with first edition AD&D. We consider the Unearthed Arcana to be core to the game,
yeah.
Oh,
just
yeah.
because without it, you're really missing a lot of the theme and flavor that first edition really brought.
Now, where Wilderness Survival and the Dungeoneers, or Wilderness Adventure and Dungeon Survival Guide, where those really came into play is for everybody else. They took the thieves' abilities and they gave them stats for everybody else to use, because there's times that a magic user has to climb up a wall. There's times that your fighter starts tumbling down a hill, or needs to do something, even try to unlock something and so on. These books gave normal people an aspect of the thief ability. The thief still did it better.
Right. So those were places the DM had to go to look up.
Yeah.
All right, this guy wants to use rudimentary tools to pick this lock, or the thief managed to climb the wall and let a rope down. So what's the percentage chance that the
Magic
fighter or magic user is going to follow him up?
Yeah.
So definitely always rules expansions, good stuff there. But in the core of the thief, particularly with first edition, we started to see some restrictions and removal of restrictions by race as we added some additional races.
Yeah.
Humans largely unrestricted. The
Actually,
subclass,
everybody was unlimited
right,
as far as the levels they could attain, except for half orcs. And half orcs were now introduced as a playable race.
we see the introduction of minimum stats required and maximum stats based on particular race class combinations.
Yep.
Dexterity is still prime for the thief in this one.
Yeah. Assassins were still around for now, but they must be evil. Yeah. So he played that a lot. There were set minimum fees charged for the level of the victim of the assassin and so on.
It's
and
suggested retail price.
yes, and my first thought was, couldn't they see the controversy here? With how deep they were going into this. Now, on the nicer side of thievery, if there is such, thieves now had a D6.
Yay!
2 more pips if you rolled it right. For hit point calculations. They also gained experience faster than the other classes. They gained experience for just about everything. I mean, what they did, gems and jewelries, stealing for everybody except your party members. There was
What?
Yeah,
If they really wanted it, they would have put a lock on it.
well.
It's not.
It wasn't a very good lock. So.
Now, I will say as a caveat, in our games, disarming a trap, unlocking the chest, stealthily taking some shiny bits of jewelry before closing it and relocking it and announcing, "Okay, somebody want to unlock this? You want me to do it, or do you just want to bust it off? Trap's gone. It was poison needles. I don't need them." And so that we allowed in our campaign, and we would deal with what they got outside of the game and away from all the other players.
Certainly the devious aspects.
Well, yeah.
But to the point, gems, gold, those things had a XP value.
Yep.
And if you wanted to steal the XP out of Troy's pocket,
Don't do it.
They mixed
Hey.
that.
Yeah.
So they tried to keep it so that you wouldn't have the thief that would go and steal all your other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But
So,
Nothing directly, but you could do little indirect things because, look, I'm putting my life on the line. So that shiny red ruby right there, I'm kind of liking that.
May I read
Absolutely.
Troy will read.
from the Player's Handbook, page 27, where we're talking about
Please,
thieves. The primary function of a thief: picking pockets, number 1. Open locks, find and remove traps, move silently, hide in shadows. These are the basic functions and are self-explanatory. Chances of success, blah, 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 blah. So the secondary functions of a thief, or things that they can also do: listen to doors.
It's made of maple.
Yeah.
It didn't say anything. detect sounds behind them, ascending and descending vertical surfaces such as a wall. Number 3 on the secondary is backstabbing those who happen upon the thief in the performance of their profession.
Nice.
Is he backing into you? And that's why you can backstab him?
I don't know.
came across you doing your thing.
Hey,
I'm
right over
down
there.
on my knees picking a lock, and
Quick, what's
somebody
that thing? That's slightly interesting.
So,
Yeah.
So what we're getting here in first edition, we get into all these hardback books, is all the information about the game we love to this point has been expanded upon by truckloads.
Yeah.
The player's handbook has exploded. The Unearthed Arcana, a new concept in a book, added even more. And when they came out with the Dungeoneers of Wilderness and some of these others, they just keep adding onto it, just dumping and dumping more and more and more.
In AD&D 1, they still just had a club, a sap, a dagger, a dart, and a sword, not including the bastard or the two-handed, as their weapons. Still no bows. Not even a crossbow. Not bows,
And
not
then
crossbow.
the thief acrobat added a lasso and a staff, but not really much else
No.
by the way of thieves.
Wait a minute. Indiana Jones was a thief acrobat?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, he is.
With a
Don't you remember, when he ran and tumbled?
Yeah, ran, tumbled,
That's
lasso, up everything.
Leather, padded, or studded armor were all they had to choose
leather
from.
jacket.
And many times they would wear the leather underneath regular clothing so a person couldn't tell that they were on the job. But not wearing any armor actually helped them on their armor class, and they could then use magical items like cloaks, rings, amulets, this, that, and the other, even bracers of armor that would help them with their armor class, and all their skill levels jumped because they didn't have any restrictions. And padded armor, although it was light, was very restrictive. I've made padded armor, dude. Yeah, I've made that armor. It is restrictive. So, I know you have too. So
so you would have your base percentages, as we've talked about before, for your certain skills like pick locks, move silently, hide in shadows, racial adjustments for elves, dwarves, halflings, half orcs, those sorts of things, and then armor adjustments on top of that, which is what Gwydion is getting to. If you have no armor, you don't take a penalty to moving silently. It was, plate mail was minus 100% to move silently.
So, speaking as someone who was thrown out of watching Shakespeare in the Park play one day because I was wearing chain and partial plate mail, and I made so much noise just walking in the park, I was asked to leave. Move silently, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, we mention a lot of this stuff because we've all been in and are still in the SCA.org, Society for Creative Anachronism. Look it up. Look up SCA.org on the web. Check it out. See what kingdom you live in and what group is closest to you. We're in the Kingdom of Callantyr, and Shire of Oakheart's ours. So give us a comment down there on where you're from, and if you've never done that or seen it, it's not LARPing. No. We do things from a period standpoint. It's not a Ren fair. No. You earn your titles. You don't walk in and say, I'm a duke. No, you earn that title and every other title in it. But you learn a lot of stuff. It's literally tens of thousands of great people, 19 kingdoms worldwide.
But you can't be a thief, but you can be a fighter. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And an archer.
And an archer. He's a stinking archer.
And a bard.
And a bard.
Because I'm such an introvert.
Like an actual bard, which is why we tell him no.
No.
We didn't know.
They were that close to making that my name. The royals were. Use magic device, but that's for another video.
Yeah.
In a world where... No, wait.
Now, before we get this... thieves are still allowed magic weapons.
Yes.
But then they've also got this aspect, which was unique to thieves.
Use magic device. That was introduced in this. And it ended up going across the board after a while for everybody to roll against use magic device.
Right. Thieves had the larger success chance.
They were the largest success chance, and they were the ones that were actually trying this stuff out before everyone else. Now, they wouldn't go after a wand or a stave, but a rod. They could handle a ring or a cloak or something like that. Boots. It's like, let me try that. "They're boots of dancing," and so and we would lose them. So the other thing that was brought in was elves well suited as thieves being able to still use a long sword at a +1 to hit, but multi-classing as a fighter gave them their race bonuses for a bow use as well. That was the only class or only thief that could use a bow was the elf if they took fighter thief.
Right, so not
So
that's
necessarily
where
the
it
fighter
came up.
thief.
the fighters let them. The fighter
Yeah.
and the elf is letting them use the bow, not the thief.
Yeah, they could raise their dex score to 19. Now, though, the use of the longsword was allowed, most thieves and in any race would pick daggers and short swords because you could conceal it. And again, wearing the leather under clothes so they couldn't
Yeah,
see
and
they
then
were working.
the weapon proficiencies portion of Unarmed Arcana allowed even greater usability for those.
Oh, yeah.
So concealment, tight spaces, and bonuses, it made it really the
You
no-brainer.
have to have
Oh, well, and then
Unarmed Arcana.
here's the other thing: you can't backstab with a weapon larger than a short sword.
Yeah.
So having a long sword didn't generally mean much for you as a
No,
thief.
because while you swing in it, it was actual and audible. As it was coming in, so you couldn't surprise
and you couldn't
anybody.
get backstab bonuses for bows.
Yeah. Later on, we could work
Right, well,
sneak attack in.
sneak attacks, but that's
The bastard of the society, the half elf, was almost always multi-classed with the thief as the second or third class. That was just kind of their makeup, because nobody accepted them in society,
right.
so they basically had to build themselves up as everything they needed.
Well,
They
sure,
were great in a party because they were multi-class, but they would always raise slower than everyone else.
And this goes back to the some of the classes reflecting the world setting, so that you could put your character into the game's theme. And particularly with half elves, as they were introduced, weren't accepted by elves or really by humans. And the same with half orcs.
And dwarves didn't like any
absolutely.
part
They
of
didn't
elves.
like it. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
if you didn't have a giant beard, you were out.
That's right. That's
So-
right. So my mother's got a beard bigger than yours. So they gained a lot of the elf aspects and so on.
Yeah.
So that made a half elf. They could also raise higher, being part human in levels in certain aspects where others were cut off. But again, everybody was unlimited on thief level, and they kind of played that across the board. Dwarves looked unfavorably towards thieves, but would still grant such as a locksmith, building traps and tricks, be part of an architectural crew building a castle. They would generally be multi-class fighter thief in plate mail to keep their dwarven advantages. They could not multi-class with an assassin. Again, assassin was its own group that humans got to play with.
And to reflect the dwarven culture that was meant to be presented.
Yeah.
You know,
They're supposed to be evil?
Yeah.
What about a Drugar? Drugar?
different society.
Different society.
And they weren't introduced till later.
And the drow wasn't either. So dwarves. Now, while you think that a halfling thief is the perfect adventurer, because halfling rogues,
well, the dex bonus, the harder to hit.
halfling rogue assassin now in 5e, and that sort of thing. If you kept all the role-playing traditions of the race, now here's where they start talking about you need to role-play, not just have this character on a piece of paper and play it as you would. Okay, you're a 12-year-old girl, so you've rolled up this halfling thief, and you're gonna play it like a 12-year-old girl, or you do a half orc and you play like a 12-year-old girl. That's not what we're talking about in the game. You role play from the aspects of the class, the character, the race, and they're trying to emphasize that here when they say role playing traditions of the race. They were not into adventuring at all.
The White Box was highly influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And that was the culture and society they were meant to be reflective of.
Yeah, they didn't like placing themselves in danger,
Who
or
would?
even in control.
Right.
No, I'm not in charge.
I'll do the danger thing. Unless it was now they did have some things that they would be first in line for: food, drink,
Emergencies. Yeah.
pipe weed,
Yeah.
nap. The trouble with halflings is they aren't motivated by money or power, but they do like shiny things.
Mhm.
So, and they like parties, they like camaraderie, they like friends, they like, they love the home, but new places would be kind of nice, but I don't want it to venture too far
And
away.
that
But
was the
here's a
thing.
shiny thing.
The
Well, okay,
object,
let me go look at this.
the story that went with the object was the big feather in their hat they could take home,
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was what they were looking for. And so when
This
you
gemstone,
yeah,
I
the
found.
stories.
Yeah. you would not believe how giant that spider was.
Yeah.
It was bigger than your head, and you got a giant head. It's like a orange on a toothpick. But that was what they were. That's what they're talking about,
Yeah.
particularly with the halfling. Is that when you understand the culture they were meant to be from, which is very Tolkien-esque.
Mhm.
Even the ghettos inside the larger cities, as we got into Greyhawk or Faerun, those
Yeah.
world settings, those half quarters still had a lot of that family, that sort of camaraderie. Just like you'd see in any large city now, you go to Chinatown or the Italian sector or something like that, where you have a lot of that culture still there. It's a different feel, and those people do things from a different perspective.
and better food in the Italian section. So,
Yeah.
gnomes were introduced as a playable
A gnome?
race. A gnome. A gnome thief is a perfect match, as they have nearly the same tinkering skills as a dwarf, enjoy challenges and the act of stealing while taking pleasure in working with fine gems and jewelry. What better and cheaper hobby than actually stealing the gems and jewelry and making things with it and then selling it for a profit?
Cut out the
Well, this
Uh,
was the thing. So, if you wanted to trade your beard as a dwarf, you could go gnome.
Yep.
And still have all of the features and benefits.
Yeah,
For the most part.
of the dwarf, and
Yeah.
and there was some aspects of the gnome that far surpassed
Yeah,
the other races.
And the lore of the gnome was very interesting. So it paired well with a lot of those the classic dungeon dive style
Yeah.
party.
Did they wear the red hat?
No. Red hats are something completely different, and we'll explain that in another video of how to TPK your entire party with just one encounter.
Fire! Oh wait.
No, yeah, when it goes awry.
So I should
me just-
subscribe to your channel so I don't miss it.
That's right. That's right. How to snap a wand. Half orcs rear their ugly head in AD&D as a playable race.
Yes.
No, really, they are ugly by human standards.
Yes.
They weren't suited to be thieves.
They came out really well with fighter and barbarian, but didn't
Yeah.
take. Yeah, they got a lot of penalties for thieves.
They as far as a thief was concerned, they pretty much just took what they wanted from the point of a sword. It's like, give me purse.
Mhm.
And that was it. You gave them the purse, or later you gave them the purse. They were great in bar brawls and that sort of thing. Their maximum attainable level, if they had an 18 dexterity as a thief, was 8. The problem was the racial max for a half orc was 17. So they had to get to 18 by magical means or some other way. And it wouldn't be by reading a book. So
Not
7th
big
level
man.
is pretty much it. So that they put it in there to where, yeah, you can do that if you want.
Sure.
I guess they were saying that Conan was a 7th level thief
With a big sword.
with a big sword.
Well,
Maybe
depending
maybe
on how small the party was, multiclassing was something that everybody would do, particularly in the earlier days. So, I've got my fighter or my druid, and I need to pick up some thief skills so we can have an opportunity to try to unlock a door and maybe have success. But other spellcasters, as spells expanded in this edition and later editions, there were magical means around those problems as well. So multiclassing wasn't as big a feature or as necessary, even.
Speaking of no extra features, humans basically got nothing. So now that everybody else is unlimited, we lost that. What we
Right.
gained was in a city system, or in the thieves realm itself with everyone else. We were expected to be the kingpin as far as the humans were. Humans were accepted as kingpins and were the only ones that could dual class, which was so much better on experience points than multi-classing. That's where we gained our differences. But again, we could run a citywide operation. People were like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to go talk to the Planescape guy before you go do that in this town."
Just my ring.
So notice it's gone.
Oh
So-
my.
I don't know where it went. Whoa.
Some
That's where,
thief
no.
took my ring.
Well, so for having ran a lot of first and second edition, particularly in Greyhawk, speak a little bit about how the Thieves Guild was woven into that world setting. It was a pretty big aspect of that town.
The Thieves Guild within the city of Greyhawk itself, which is the capital city of the continent. So it's a really big city, several thousand people. So you can imagine crime is in New York City.
Mhm.
So the cops aren't in charge of it. The town guard are not in charge of it. You'll have each different section, each borough will have its own little fiefdom, little crime lord that's in charge of it here. Like you're talking about the Italian sector or the Chinese sector. You go there and you have Chinese lords that are in charge of the China area. And, the cops go there and they think they're in charge. Boy, they're in for a surprise. So if you're developing your campaign around a big city, definitely going to have thieves guilds, and you can break up your town into different sections. And just like we have today in Chicago, as an example, these guys hate those guys. And so whenever these guys see those guys, they start fighting. So you can have areas that are neutral, that are off limits to different places.
That would be use guys.
That use guys.
Use guys. is
Use
neutral.
guys.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
This is a fact of daily life in certain Russian cities.
Yes.
The Russian mafia runs this. Different mafia runs train.
Yeah,
Different
mafia runs
Trash.
trash.
Yeah.
So, but they all coordinate and pay respect, and money flips between each other. And obviously, sometimes there's conflict.
It's,
But it happens when you're in the large city. So, okay, we're in the center of town. We've got a lot of, maybe you're in the merchant district. But you're going to be able to run across a large selection of those thieves guilds as probable hooks or contacts for your thief character. And then as you get into different sections of town, you'll be dealing with different requirements placed on the party by this thieves guild or that thieves guild for either respect, if they're more organized, or more threatening if they're sort of a lower, more just like a street presence that can be problematic to deal
your
with.
thieves guild is going to find profit in one of two areas, and that will develop the rest of the characters in the thieves guild. One is going to be mercantile capitalism. They're going to steal stuff and then repackage it and sell it somewhere else. The other one, which is what I like, is subterfuge and spying. Information. These guys want to know what those guys are up to.
It's your Bothan spy network in the Death Star.
Absolutely. So,
We're
royals.
going to use you guys, use guys,
So-
which is the party, to go do this.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So somebody always wants to know what the other guy is doing. And in a big city, you've got the royals, you've got different people in government trying to get things of power. You have people that were just recently deposed or fired trying to get their seat back. So there's a lot of subterfuge and spying going on. And that's where your thieves guilds come in handy, because they're going to want to be able to, they're the ones who are going to do that work. They're going to find out, they're going to spy, they're going to do this. So one of the things that they would use, unique to thieves and the whole subclasses, is a language called thieves can't. But thieves can, and they're the only ones that can. And it's a strange language of spoken and unspoken symbols. I tend to look at it as today, if you went to a modern city, just about anywhere, you would see a bunch of graffiti spray painted on a train. That is thieves can't. It's a thief marking his territory in a language that is unknown to just about anybody else, and it declares this territory is ours. That's one of the first things that you'll see in a big city. So, and also, this is ours. So if you're a thief, you understand the language, and then you know, well, I can find the hideout by following the trail of clues spray painted on the side of the building. And they don't necessarily have to be big, brilliant pictures that are spray painted, just a few little markings. One of the clever ways I saw this used in The Mandalorian recently, only in their helmet on one of their sub frequencies that they're scanning, kind of like Predator, they could see the symbols over doorways, and they followed it to the hideout. Yeah. So it's thieves can, but they can't.
IRL, the homeless have their own symbols, and they will mark a place that's friendly, or that they can find a place to rest, or someone that they can get fresh water or food, or even coffee and breakfast, something like that, or a place to stay away from, or anything along those lines. They have their own written language that helps them survive. So that's out there, IRL.
Now we've got you can take that as a language in some game systems,
or an art form,
right? But it's typically included as part of your thieves training or background,
right?
Yeah.
And so you'll see that as described either as a double speak, as a sign language. I've seen a sign language in certain game systems. So keep an eye out for that, as it can be a unique flavor to add for your world setting as you're dealing with a thief class.
That's one of the interesting things of throw it players too. When I first grab a new group of players and with their characters and drag them to the city of Sigil, and one of the thieves, he was very clever, he says, I don't know where we're at, but this ain't where we were. He says, I'm going to go look for signs. And he took off, and he was finding signs, but he didn't know what they meant. He didn't know what language it was, but he knew how the language worked, and he was able to make contact with a local thieves guild in the big city and help out the party with a few things. So just knowing how that language works. And not die. And not die. That's an important one.
Yes, it is. There's an interesting article in the Dragon magazine, number 104, which I think was just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? That gave thief motivations. Now, in my mind, the thief motivations is like homebrew campaign setups. I really like the article. It gave influence to 5e, as well as far as their traits, bonds, and ideals, as far back as 104. It gave a motivation, then coupled a probable selection of alignments with each. I will say that for our games, evil was never an option for a player character. This article made that distinction or PC limitation. Greed, neutral good, neutral evil, or a chaotic neutral or chaotic evil. Now in our games, of course, we wouldn't allow the evil side. So for a greed motivation, neutral good, chaotic neutral. Recreational thief or burglar, he was a conundrum for a character relying on their purpose in life. Did they just take the thrill? Had a need for shiny or expensive things? Did they operate on a personal code of conduct? Stealing to assist the good guys beat the bad guys? The subterfuge here, or helping to plant this brother into the throne because that guy sucks? Is the thief hired for retrievals, rescues, discoveries? These are all generally landed in the neutral good side of things, or the lawful, other than lawful good alignment, and that's recreational thief or burglar. Revenge. Is there a hated enemy or rival guild or institution? Has the thief family, cohort, land, or group been harmed to the point of them vowing to take action? This category is normally chaotic good or neutral good, as they have a purpose and usually good intentions. Otherwise, it can be total neutral, with their personal tasks taking over their entire life and others used as a means to an end, or just others are in the way of the thief accomplishing the task that they set out to do. So
this fits really well with what we've seen as we've gone through this project. When we get to first edition AD&D and some of the later editions of the 5 box set that we just covered, role play became a larger focus. The world setting was meant to be more alive, and your players were meant to live in it.
Yeah.
And so
More than
having
just dungeon delve.
exactly, because it's, you go 20 meters down the thing, you take the left or right at the T hallway, and maybe you fight some orcs. Here where
You were dropped on, by the way, on the corner when you were around it. You didn't look up, and green slime hit.
Oh yeah, green slime, and then your head melts.
Yeah.
That's why you look like
at least
this.
the armor did. That's why he's wearing a hat.
I hope you brought another
That's why he's
character,
wearing a
because that
hat.
one was over.
Yeah, that one, he died 6 times now. But the addition of Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Greyhawk, world settings that were fleshed out, that gave you a ton of background to write from as a game master, to help your players come into the world setting and be a part of it and make those changes. Particularly helpful, this article, as a thief, because you're not just always trying to collect the largest pile of gold.
Yeah. Gives you purpose.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a couple more. The artiste, performing impossible crimes, complex thievery, either for hire or self-satisfaction. They live by their own code of conduct and are normally lawful neutral. Lawful in the fact that they have their set of rules that they will not vary from. Neutral in the fact that
they're not jiving with society.
yeah,
so much.
I'm not exactly going to do
all
what you want
about
me to
me,
do.
baby.
That's right. And the $1 million. So the in this case, gold pieces. The professional, generally a member in good standing with the Thieves Guild, working directly for them or with a crew. This thief looks to get the job done and get paid with as little personal entanglements and repercussions as possible. Just don't double cross them. These are generally lawful neutral. And
a good example of that, if anybody's played Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the Thieves Guild quest line as the professional thief, 100%, very good.
Yeah. And even though it brings it up in the first edition, we still don't care about psionics or bards.
No. Well, you had to go through thief on your path to bard, so
Yes.
you would spend a little bit of time there.
No bards.
No
bards.
I mean, no bards. So again, we mentioned, hit it again, since we're talking about placing your character in the world. Unearthed Arcana's non-weapon proficiencies are a great way to give your character a job skill that would either justify or somehow be related to their thieving skills. So, working with jeweler's tools and fine machines as a watchmaker or a gem cutter or those certain things would then give you some sort of background as you wrote it up. Why can I lockpick? Well, I work with fine tools. It sort of makes sense. These, you didn't necessarily need the justifications, but they went hand in hand really well with a thief character, particularly when you're trying to play in a more city-based campaign. When you have to have a job, you need a trade, something that can move you forward outside of committing crime or being the barbarian that's going to just kick open the door.
And AD&D also encouraged background. So, your social background, your upbringing, did you have a job, especially in World of Greyhawk box set. My favorite, the Forgotten Realms box set with the, 9, 11 maps, whatever it is, and the entire city fleshed out. You could put yourself in a spot, you could work somewhere, your parents, gain skills before you even became an adventurer.
Both of those world settings, we got the city of Greyhawk, which was an incredible flesh out of the city. And then on the Forgotten Realms side, we got the city system, which gave us 3 or 4 of the cities in great detail. Yeah. So very cool. If you want to play a thief or rogue type character.
There was additional races and family trees introduced in AD&D, the Unearthed Arcana. Wild elves. They would make a fine thief if they didn't shun outsiders and were xenophobic about their own race.
I mean, so they were wild elves. They weren't tame.
Not really. I mean, to me, that's more of an encounter. Why would you even mention it when they're not really, unless you make a group of wild elves to go out adventuring? But when you're xenophobic about your own race,
plains elves. That was a different.
Yeah. There were valley elves for sure.
They maxed out their dad's credit cards.
Now they shunned their own race, so were well suited for thief adventures. dark elves had the best advantages, but could not venture out into broad daylight. So that was kind of a game stopper right there. Deep gnomes or
Smurf Neblin.
See?
Smurf Neblin.
Smurf Neblin.
I say the third time he's going to show up.
Whap. They have several advantages, gain some magical benefits from close association with the elemental plane of Earth. Again, page 11 has all these advantages and disadvantages of all this for you to look up. That was deep gnomes. So there was additional races. Halflings now had the 3 clans for you to choose from. So if you were going to be a halfling, you weren't just a halfling. You were either a stout.
Tall fellow.
You were a stout, which got strength bonuses. I think it was hairfoot, dexterity,
tall fellow, yeah.
and then tall fellow was in there.
Give me another one, Grandpa. I think I know them all.
This is an open book test. Yeah, kids, get off my lawn.
So we're good. I think that takes us into the second edition.
I think it's, yeah.
All right. So, again, as
And we're out of time. Thanks for joining us.
I don't know, what did you guys eat before we get into this? But you're like, pooping,
No,
it's like NASCAR.
usually that slows us
Yes, I love
down.
it.
It's all good. So, as always, if you have questions or you want to get into some additional information regarding the first edition, just let us know in the chat as you participate today or comment on the video.
And we will read the book verbatim, page by.
Okay, we're going to assign that to Gwydion because he seems really
Just,
excited about it.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, maybe not.
You
But
can read.
we do welcome your questions. We'd be glad to answer any questions or curiosities you have from any of the books that we've got with us today. We're going to go ahead and change the books out. We'll take a quick break to do that. We're going to get second edition on the table. So be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe wherever you happen to find this video. Troy, they also can find us
On Twitch, like you see us today, Twitch TV. You can contact us here on Discord, where we have a growing community of DMs who are making some of the great playing material. And also on I Want to Be a GM on Facebook. You can meet us there. We have some free handouts on our Files tab. And as well on our YouTube, I Want to Be a GM. All the videos that we shoot after we make them look very professional, we upload them there. So you can go see our whole library of the things that we've already done in the past right there. So I Want to Be a GM on Facebook, Twitch, Discord, and YouTube.
Yeah.
Check out 417 Games and Events for the latest things happening in this area. And we may, it expands through pretty much all the 417
Well,
Missouri State.
417gamesandevents.com is the place to go when you want to find a place to go.
Yep.
So don't miss another game event. You can sign up for the monthly newsletter. It's once a month. Lets you know what's coming up the month next so that you can be prepared for it.
Yep.
Play local, buy local.
Absolutely. So until just a moment from now, I'm Jester Borris with I Want to Be a GM. This is Dungeons and Dragons Through the Ages, Part 5, The Thief, Chapter 1st Edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. With me today.
I'm Troy, the Planescape guy.
And I'm Gwydion.
Yeah, they know.
These guys are killing me today. But we'll be right back with 2nd edition.
Bye-bye.
See ya.